let's hopefully that's my audio working. Let me just see if it's working with y'all. It's good to have y'all here, everybody. See if anybody notices what this is. Let me know if you notice. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. We're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin technical analysis in the show today, and of course we'll be looking at more than just the Bitcoin price action. We'll be looking at the TA for Chainlink, Ethereum and Tezos, I imagine. That's probable. And as well, we'll be looking at the TA here for Bitcoin first as ever. Hope you're all doing very, very well. Good to see you all in the chitty chatter box there. And I hope you're enjoying these 15-second Bitcoin USD charts that I have up behind. It's quite exciting, isn't it, with the 15-second on the go. Woohoo, to the moon, here we go. Yeah, so I mean, just for a bit of reference for anybody who's been watching along, you might want to see what this is looked like on a bigger time frame. There's the 30-minute time frame, for instance, and you can see it's been going down overall. Today's highs have been at 49,552 and the lows at 45,000. So there has been obviously a bit of travel on the prices here. You're talking about a nice big percentage chunk move, and we're talking about a 7% move towards the upside overall today, which is the green day that people have been talking about. And well, that is nice to see coming in towards payday, I suppose, for a lot of people out there. Now, I see Zoner coming up with an answer is a Bitcoin beanie. No, it's not quite a Bitcoin beanie, but it is that Bitcoin color. And I hope, I had hoped that Navanethan would still be here. It seems like he must have put the screen down for a second or two. It's actually one of his own hats. When he comes back here, he can drop a link in for people. For everybody, yes. And I see KDoc says tea. It's tea time with Rocky. No tea, that's fine, have coffee. It's tea time with Rocky. No tea, that's fine, have coffee. It's chit chat with Rocky. No chit, that's fine, just tip me. Chit chat with Rocky. Enjoying the stream, everybody. Be sure to hit the like button if you are. So nice to have you all here, and it's good to have folk here as well to whom I have spoken directly recently. Yeah, buddy, Navanethan's good to have you. I got it, and I got it on. It's good to see you here. Yes, this is indeed a Navanethan special hat. Drop a link in there in the chat, buddy. Feel free to your website or portfolio or anything else that you're doing at the minute. This is a hat that Navanethan sent me. Good guy. I also have a couple of other colors. For a while I actually thought Rocky Outcrop was your name, lol. Well, I mean, it might as well be. It's a pseudonym I've gone by for long enough that it might as well be. And of course people talk to me, they say Rocky, and my ears perk up. I know they're talking to me. Rocky Outcrop, if you flip the cuff off the beanie, you can see there's another logo on the other side, so you can wear it two ways. Yes, that's right, exactly. Let's do it, Navanethan. Let's have the infomercial. As you can see here, if you flip the beanie down and look a bit like, what's that guy, Troy in Star Trek Generation? You look a bit like him for a second. Then you flip it around, you see you've also got the full logo and inside ERE experience on the go, and it's actually more comfortable for my big head to have it around this way, to be honest with you. A person who is rather endowed in the old cranial department. Danny Ray, good to have you here, nice to see you. Midlands Performance Cars, greetings from the UK. Derby, is that a YouTube page that you've got there, buddy? If you've got clips on a page of your cars, your performance cars and whatever, drop me a link in the chat to your YouTube page and I'll bring it up and give you a shout out on screen. Why not? It's always nice to be nice if you are indeed a YouTube person. Nice to have you here, K-Doc. Nice to have you here, Zoner. Nice to have you here, K-King. Mexil Dude, good to have you. Matt Rodriguez, nice to see you again, my friend. Good to have you here, everybody. So let's see what else we've got here as well. We've got Lord Veroven as well, and Stanley Knife. Pardon? Hit that like button, all you good ladies and gentlemen people. It's the emergency like button, emergency like button. Smash its face in, everybody. Smash its face completely in. Pulverize the like button, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope you've all got a nice cup of tea there with you. That is, of course, the 30-minute chart that I then zoomed up out to from the 15-minute chart here for Bitcoin. Let's have a little bit of a look at this together just now in the nice and relaxed tones of what we're doing here. Let's just see as well, how long do I have left on this music? I don't want to run out on the old music so that everything starts going all copyrighty claimy and everything on me. Right, now looking good over there. Yeah, so nice one. We've got a really nice rise up here today, ladies and gentlemen, on the Bitcoin price, and that's nice to see. However, we've not made it out of the woods yet. Be sure to be able to see the trees from the forest, from the wood, or whatever that expression is. You know, fool me once, fool me twice. Fool me twice, yeah. And then we look up towards the top side here and say that yes, okay, there's quite a bit of room to go really before you're into the slippery upward slope, if you like. And that's maybe easier to see if I just flip reverse this here over to an inverted chart. And as you can see here, if this was actually us forming a high in terms of what we just put in there on the 30-minute chart, and we've dropped all the way down, we're obviously quite a ways away from really successfully pushing past that area quite yet. So let's just put this into context then and see where have we managed to get to. One of my favorite ways of doing that, ladies and gentlemen, is to use a Fibonacci retracement tool here and drawing it in from left to right, as is tradition. Down towards here where we had the low at 42,900, and we have of course taken out the 236, the 23.6% Fibonacci retracement area, and we've bounced off the 382, the 38 here. And so far, you know, we've not convincingly done anything movements up above this zone, so as you can see, our job of work yet to do. But that's just looking at that from that particular Fibonacci's perspective. What I actually wanted to do in today's show was look back through a couple of the things that we've looked at in the recent past to say, to say, you know, where have we come from, where we're going. And as well, maybe I would talk a little bitty about entering positions in today's show, just as sort of like how you might think about how you might want to enter a position and that sort of thing, just for the people who, you know, are really new to trading and have never really done much of that before, or at least that are still feeling uncomfortable when they do it, of which I'm sure there are plenty of folk. Okay, and there's a couple of key things, of course. You probably will know the things that I'm talking about anyway when I talk about them, whether you're new to trading or not. But it's just nice to have somebody tell you, give you a couple of reminders, I suppose, here and there. So we'll just do the little bit of that, and we will look at all the prices as we look through the different charts. But as you can see there, that Fibonacci that's on there, that's that white one. It's not in the right place, as you can tell, because it's the lower end point here where we drew into came from the highs, where we drawn into there previously, is now being broken and pushed on past, and where the prices have actually gone on down to is where I've drawn in that red line there. So I'll just fix this up and draw over. So essentially this Fibonacci is drawn in here from the high to the low, okay, left to right, ladies and gents. And you can see here again, we still bashed the 382 like I spoke about earlier on. And if we were to drop back down the way, you could be looking at this from this perspective alone, at whether or not, you know, we would then need to find support again in around about the 46,600 area before moving on up the way. So we can then kind of like take this perspective that we've got at the minute and look to where the upside targets maybe could be at the minute and mark them out. So let's look up the way and say, well, the 50% Fibonacci area, which is where I'm just hovering over at the minute, in at around about 50,000 700 or so is going to be an area to be aware of. A couple of reasons for that. We can see all of this activity that happened in it around about that price point. Looking over to the left, we can see how it operated as support previously. Looking over to the left, support again. Looks like it was a bit of resistance in around here before we pushed up, found out support, etc. We can see this is an area of interest, so I've marked that out with this next red serrated line in there. And then the zone on up from where this, where the next zone up, if we were to push past the red line, where would be a reasonable profit-taking target? Because we have to admit, at that stage, you know, we'd have gone past this area of support and resistance. There are zones, obviously, where you'd be looking at and saying, hey, there's maybe some liquidity in this area that might result in a pullback. And there's also this 618 Fibonacci zone just here up above. So if we were to push on up past this zone onto the next one, we'd be coming in at around about the 52,600 area up to the 53,150 area. And I suppose in essence this is more or less how I would be if I would be trading this myself, if I was talking to you so about it, like, you know, what would we be looking for? And if I was and we were trying to figure out a trade together, for instance, this would be the sort of the first thing then I would be looking to as areas to try and target, you know, up towards this 52 to 53,000 zone. That's an interesting one. Will we see if we need to any sort of pullbacks happening at about that 51,000 price point, but 50,700 or so? Will we see the prices actually able to break through 49,000? So we've tried it a couple of times, not done it successfully, and so far we've pulled back a bit from there. And then if we do pull back, will we find support at the 46,760 area? So all depending on your particular appetite for risk. For example, just based on that alone, you could look to try and take trades off of that, you know, that information just there, based on maybe using these price points that we've talked about as entry areas and trying to manage your risk accordingly. And a couple of examples of that, and this leads us towards the idea of how you could be taking profits, entering into trades. Now, of course, the next big thing that people obviously talk about is, of course, taking profits or cutting trades short, etc. But how could you think about this, and how could you you know, want to operate in this area? Okay, perhaps you're trying to say that you've come up with some sort of thesis on your trade at this point. You're saying, if we push past the 382, I think the prices are going to continue on up towards the 50% area, which is at the start of another big zone of potential resistance and liquidity here. Just using that alone, we could find extra confirmations for this as well if we wanted to. Obviously there's a degree of bias confirmation in there, but undoubtedly if I pop on the VPVR, then we'll see gaps in the VPVR and areas where there's less activity, etc. And there's other different things you could look to just as a starting point, right? So you could then say, I want to do a rough risk to reward ratio, and you could choose something which is like outlandish, you know, like something crazy, but you could also just, you know, try and play it fairly safe here. If you were thinking that your target was in it around about the red serrated line there, you could conceivably think, well, if the prices push past the zone of 49,000 again, then I'm willing to manage my risk by saying, well, if we actually go up past that but then drop down past this area here at 48,000, then I'd stop out, and overall that gives you a risk to reward ratio then of 2 to 1. Okay, that's what that would be if you were to do it exactly along those lines. That's not a suggested trade for you specifically. That's just a way of framing the context of just what we've just been talking about with regards to if there was positive momentum to, like, you know, following on through from this area. Now there may of course well be pullbacks from this area instead, like we've spoken about a few times, but they're just talking about that. So another thing you might want to do then, if you're then actually thinking about would you not take that trade, is maybe maybe look to try and prove yourself wrong, perhaps. So one of the things that you could look to, this is the 30-minute time frame, might be the VWAP, and you could say, well, you know, we're trading above the VWAP at the minute, so there's quite a good strong likelihood that we'd come down here and be stopped out of that trade. So maybe this is not a desirable risk to reward strategy right here based on what we just looked at. Okay, there's an idea. So then, you know, the counter argument to that would be, well, I don't think we're going down to the towards the VWAP, but where are you going to manage your risk in it about maybe perhaps in and off this yellow line, you know, and this yellow line is a 236 Fibonacci retracement of the entire downward to upward trend. So you're saying, well, you know, I'm going to put it all on us getting a bounce right there off of that and not going any further down, but that's a little bit, you know, it's risky, but then what you're talking about, so like that's fine. So it's just then you know what you're doing and you can then do it again the next time that you do it, right? That's how you would do that, you know. If and then you could do this same process every single time that you were entering into a trade and say, well, you know, I've discovered for myself in whatever situation that there's this is a decent way of doing things, for instance, right? So whatever happens to be, so you say it's not that you're looking at, instead you're talking about something like the Hull moving average, you know, and you could say, well, the prices have actually broken up above the Hull moving average over here, but you know, it's quite a distance away from where we are at the minute on this time frame, and I think that, you know, there's a potential for us to come back down and find support at this area, and maybe this is the trade that I want to take, you know. And you're saying, well, you know, there's obviously a chance of it not happening as defined in that trade that we were just speaking about conceivably here up above, you know. This is as another potential option would be then to just simply say do similar sorts of trade off the back of the 236 over here, and at this point you're looking at a 5.5 to 1, you know, with regards to managing your risk, you know, or you could be looking at a 2 to 1 pushing down past the next level, which is the 236 Fibonacci retracement point there, and pushing on down past the 236 Fibonacci retracement point from another longer term. I think that's actually the entire trend one there, that 236. This is since the impulse up, which we've already gone past. Now we have obviously admittedly pushed up past that point, so maybe you'd be looking at that initial trade and that would be something that you'd want to take. Now I'm not here to tell you what trades to take, okay? I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do. I would prefer to be able to tell you various different ways of trying to achieve the outcome that you're looking for, and the whole teach a man to fish idea, right? So let's explore this idea a little bit further as we see it retracing back down below the 382, you know, just as we're talking about it. Let's just explore it a little bit further in terms of like their likelihood of missing out on trend moves, etc., based on your approach to looking at time frames. Here's the 15-minute time frame, and as you can see, we've had this nice movement up the way since over here about 6 p.m. on the charts that we all look at for Bitcoin, and but you know, overall in this big period down the way, we've had this great big movement towards the downside, and so far how have we done in terms of this movement up then as a retracement? You know, like what we'd be looking at if we were to pull back down the way. You can see the 236 comes in at where those previous wicks were, so that was like a decent enough buy entry for where the move has just come from right now for the people who were trying to get in there. But when the prices were up at this point and moving down the way, you could have measured this in and said, well, hey, that's maybe right where I want to get to. You can find that there's this sort of thing happens very frequently where you look and find particular entries. Now, when it actually comes to getting into this trade, if this was the case, we were looking at this just an hour ago, or whatever, then what you're saying is when it's coming back down towards this zone, you expect to try and find some sort of support and resistance in here. So you're looking at the number and saying, well, it's 48,000 is a nice round number. This, where I've drawn this into, kind of lines up at 47,989. So, you know, it could easily push on past 48,000. It could turn around at 48,000. Maybe you're wanting to get in at around about the just before it hits that target, hoping for a turnaround. If you're looking to just try and get in. But let's just see what when we were dropping down the way, how did this look on the really small time frames? Because then things start to get like more confusing, really, when you see that there's these. When you try and layer on information with an end goal in mind, it can become more and more confusing, right, as you look across them, which then generates this problem where you're thinking, okay, we've got this downward trend here on this time frame, and then over here we've got this upward trend on this time frame. Are we just going to keep on going down? What's it look like between the two? So the 1 minute was the first one, the 15 minute, here's the 5 minute. Oh well, that's the end of that downward trend, and we've moved towards the top side, and you're stacking things on. And what this whole zone represents, if we then jump up again towards a higher time frame like the hourly candle, is really just like one or two of these things in it around about these areas. And if we jump up to another higher time frame candle, then of course it all gets absorbed in, and then on the time frame that you're up towards the 24-hour, it all gets absorbed in as well. So where does that leave you? Well, what it leaves you with is that you can identify the patterns and the trend on a particular time frame, a set of time frames, and see if it is congruent up the way, and then look back and say, well, this is my feeling for where the bounds of the market are for just now. These are where we could be going during the day. If we didn't go there, what's the significance of it, and therefore why am I taking that trade from this area or not taking that trade from this area? If we do go down to those lows, where roughly would it be a good idea to get in at? And then whenever you go down to the low time frames with an overall objective in mind, then having already partly formed a narrative, as you're looking at it together, then it's a little bit easier than just kind of saying on one time frame it looks like we're going up today, and it looks good on the hour. I'm just going to look at it and on the 1 or 5 minute and 15 minute and try and get an entry It's like, no, try and find an entry on a decent enough time frame and around about the middle. Look up the way and see how things are going. Look down the way, see how things are going. Build a narrative of the trend and picture between the two, and then look back and think, well, what would be a decent enough entry, and what was your risk reward at that particular time for that trade that you're taking, and what are the reasons for it, and is it replicable in terms of all of your sort of basic criteria for trading, so that you can iteratively improve upon that strategy, whatever it happens to be for you, and take it from there over a period of like 20 trades or so. And at each time you do it, your confidence will build up an awful lot, regardless of whether or not you're winning or losing. Now on that front, you should really obviously be managing your risk with choosing areas where you're going to say, look, I'm wrong in this trade, and I've decided here in advance that's where I'm wrong. For instance, using this tool here. Or you you use a fraction of your account for trading with. Okay, that's what you got to do, and then you commit to that, and then over time you'll be able to let the reins off ever so slightly. But just when you think about things like leverage, for instance, just start with trading without any. That's much better. And then when you think about things like your position size, just keep it down to like 2% of your entire account that you're risked on any given trade. Okay, and I know that sounds minuscule, but this is what we're talking about. This time next year you'll be so happy. Say hello to future self just now, and say, I'm doing this for you, bro. And then your future self will look back at you right now and say, thanks, and that's what you want, because that is obviously a healthy relationship with yourself, right? So this is us looking down here at the 2 minute time frame to draw that point out and say, well, here at this point, we looked like we had this potential for an inverted head and shoulders here, and there would be a sort of neckline around about this zone. We moved up the way, and we've got the measured move off of that, and that's decent. Maybe that's broken a little bit of these previous shoulders here for us, and now there's a retrace, and that's handy enough to see as the retrace is coming off of that white line we identified earlier on. That's that 382 Fibonacci retracement point, right? And then it's moved on down the way again, and it's near enough this yellow line, and we can confirm what these are and everything anyway, but we know that this would overall operate as a decent enough area to get into, following on from a breakout of the little sort of miniature head and shoulders here towards the top side, post movement up the way, testing previous support, and that might be a reason to get in here and say, well, the basis for that is because on this time frame, although it is going towards the downside, I'm seeing here that there's this this potential head and shoulders, and what I'm looking for is to try and capitalize on any potential movements towards the top side. Why I might be looking to do that is because I can appreciate that here in the 15-minute time frame we're in an upward trend, which is identified with this low, this high, this higher low, this higher high, this higher low so far. And at this current point in time, looking between the highs and the lows on this where we've just come from, we've broken past, you know, the 236 Fibonacci retracement point. Admittedly, we have come up towards the 618 there and, you know, retraced from it, and that's what we're seeing on the low time frame, and that is of course the result of that head and shoulders breakout move towards the top side, then kind of, you know, coming back down to retest a level. Natural enough to see as well that that lines up with a 618 Fibonacci retracement point, giving you plenty of time to think about whether or not you want to enter into a move or not. Then jumping on up the way towards the 1 hour time frame just to get a sort of broader look at the same thing and say, well, over here you can see that this is where we have that support and resistance from before, and perhaps now it's flipped to support there in the last couple of hours, as we see on the 15-minute time frame, and we found support at the 236 as I've drawn in with this arrow. Then the next thing you might look to maybe be up towards the 4 hour time frame. Maybe perhaps this is where you were initially looking at your trade idea and saying, hey, look, you know, we're going to get in somewhere in the guts of where we were at before, and maybe that's in and around about these zones, whatever. Then you go up the way and you're looking at a 24-hour time frame, and you can say that, hey, look, we've had this nice movement up. We've obviously had a bit of a retracement so far, but that's okay. You know, this has happened at significant areas. So long as we don't go back down below these other areas, then I'll be okay with it. Now, at the minute, this is all just geared towards trying to make up a trade towards the top side from where we are more or less at the minute, and look across the time frames in terms of managing it. But looking at this thing and saying that if we did actually drop down tomorrow towards this point here, we'd have stopped out. That's a likelihood that would happen. You know, that can happen an awful lot. So then, you know, overall though, the likelihood of us getting up towards this zone, it was what we're defining in terms of our own risk, is going to be at 2 to 1 at this stage. So is that really realistic at what we're saying? Maybe it needs to be more along the lines of 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 in terms of, like, you know, if we go down to that point, we're probably going on past it. And in terms of percentage movements, you know, we just leaving from there down to there's another couple of percent lost, and a couple of percent lost that you don't want to take, you know, in terms of a bad position, is maybe not worth it, especially on the higher volatility assets and that we see in the altcoins that have got bigger movements, you know, due to the sort of the more inherent price discovery nature of them, compared to this more liquid market that's Bitcoin. Of course, this is still ridiculously volatile. I mean, take this and go over and try trading in regular land and you'll see that it's a very different world. But overall, these are just a couple of different ways of kind of justifying a trade on a terms of a short-term basis, that, you know, there is the danger here, but by the time that happens, you know, we're looking up here at 24 hours. So what was it we started on? Was it something like the 30-minute or something? And we were saying, you know, is there a reason to get in around about these zones? Yes, there is. And how are you going to manage the risk? Okay. And then it's up to you as to what particular strategy you want to use. I actually went as far just to kind of indulge who it was that asked me the question, and the average viewer, going all the way down here towards this low time frame to try and justify a move from right where the prices were. As you can see, we're actually on the way right down at the minute to retest in this zone, and you're currently looking to see if you've got a higher low overall. Would have been you know, it's still within your tolerance for risk movement or for movement or whatever if you're not trading this on the 1 minute time frame. Of course, if you were trading on the 1 minute time frame, then you would have been wanting to short the measured move off the back of that, for instance, or whatever it happened to be, you know. Will we manage to see the turnaround here or not? Now, if we don't, then it's easy to see that why you would be managing your risk at around about that zone, perhaps. And just try not to overtrade, try to be consistent in what you're doing, and you'll be able to develop an approach. Now, that was a system that I made up just there now, is just kind of a made up system, but all of them essentially really are at the end of the day. And it's about finding ones which you think are fairly reliable and easily to consistently pull out the same sort of results, and then you can make, you know, you can build on it and make it a little bit more advanced, as we obviously do on the show here, looking at this point and saying, well, this is on the small term time frames, but going back to the 4-hour time frame and saying, well, nice diminishing momentum towards the downside, which had this bullish divergence all the way here, which then saw us moving up. That's really quite nice to see, and that's not much of a surprise overall. If you were looking at this from a pattern trading point of view, you would have had this drawn in, obviously, as well. Maybe it's not so obvious, but this is what you'd have drawn in, and you'd have identified this as a wedge, and looking at around about these zones for a movement which could lead to a breakout from that area. And you can double down onto your confirmations on things by saying that breaking out past that area is breaking past the 236, to which the target could be, of course, the 618, which we've obviously touched. So the trading move for today really was this one here, up to those highs to then take profit in at the 618, and that was the best move of the day, you know. And then if something else then continues on afterwards, then all power to it. But that's been what, so like until such times as that move's been beaten, that was the one. Anyhow, you can see how you would build up a picture with various different ideas. Now there's a whole host of different ones that we talk about on the channel then all the time, just to give everybody a sort of taste of something different here and there and everywhere. If you were trading this on the 4-hour time frame and looking at the moving averages and saying that with just take everything else off, but all what we already know from all those drawings we've already put on, looking at this wedge towards the downside here and seeing that the price at which it could have turned around was coming in at this 200 simple period moving average, you could have taken a trade off the back of that. Now that could be something that you do, that could be a consistent strategy for you. For instance, you know, just to ignore everything else, but seeing how there's this confluence in the value, therefore, of doing everything we did up to this point. Okay, but just to draw a line under that for now and say, and as you can see with this confluence here at the 200 simple, here's a decent enough trading idea for you to just trade between the 200 simple and the 50 simple in terms of you know, enters and exits for your profits and your loss. Okay, so in terms of this example just here, what you would have kind of ended up with saying that you're just going to get back in if a movement past the 200 simple then to the downside was then followed up with a movement towards the top side, and you're looking at trading up towards the 50 simple, for example here, then you're looking at 11% move towards the top side and an easy risk management of around about 5 to 1, looking at where you're also lining up with the wicks of the last bodies, which has candlestick pattern overlap, which has Donchian channel overlap, which has Ichimoku cloud overlap. You know, there's so many different particular angles that you could take, so it's okay, and there's always going to be a degrees of confluence, you know, so there's probably a lot of pattern confirmation or bias that's potential for you there looking at that. So but anyway, nevertheless, that's how you could take that trade, and you could do that across all the different assets that we look at and more, all of them essentially. In fact, if you could stick a chart on it and you could draw out candles on it, then I could trade it that way happily enough, you know, just as an example, right? Now, looking at the MACD, you see the bullish divergence. That's given us another confirmation here that that would have been a good zone to get in at. The trade for the day, obviously, that I'm talking about. Again, here, the bullish divergence, we're seeing the MACD doubling down, and we're seeing it on the RSI. And of course, then, at the point at which we were going for the breakout, we can see that we got a crossover here on the DMI, you know, giving us that positive move with the ADX in blue here. Again, if you want to access these indicators, absolutely can get them. There's a link in the description of these videos for how you can download the code to get these sort of ones. Of course, with the MACD, it's just actually, yeah, with the MACD, I've just removed the signal and MACD lines and colored it in nice, so you don't really need any code for that one. But anyway, there we have it. Okay, so that's the TA. That's the TA, and the way that I could have done that from what we talked about, you know, during last week's live streams, it's very different to how we did it just there now, but I'll try and summarize it in that sort of a manner so that you get because I know that's hard to to digest it all. But just bear in mind that when I was saying looking at all these things, I was really looking at them from the perspective of trying to see, you know, will we be wrong? You know, are we wrong on what we're saying at any given time? Because if we are wrong on it, then let's maybe not take that trade. But if we're not seeing anything, you know, we're not looking, not you know, aware of the issue of confirmation bias, but looking to these things and saying, well, you know, what could be wrong, you know, and let's look at this then as well, just before we go on to do any. I'll catch up with this on the chat, then I'll go back and do the episode. Let's look at this as well, and kind of bear in mind a few things, right? Just here on the 24-hour time frame, before we get all super carried away with anything. And I can just kind of make this nice and simple as well here, in a nice Monday fashion for us to get used to things. So while we may be well above the 236 currently, what we need to do is really take out that 50% Fibonacci retracement line. We already drew it all in, as you we already talked about it all. This is the same thing, just without the drawings on screen, and this will hopefully help underwrite what we've already learned so far. Okay, and then we can pop it all back on again and see at the end. So current situation with Bitcoin is as follows. We're looking at the Bitcoin price here moving up past the 8 exponential period moving average on the 24-hour time frame. Should we see that we're able to fully push past that $48,000 level, but there's a lot more to be said than just simply that. The 8 period exponential moving average and the 18 period moving average are very close here to crossing. In fact, they did cross, and they're really just or no, they didn't cross, but they're so close to crossing just there, and maybe they still could. So any movement down the way is giving us a little bit of a warning sign there that there could be then further continuation towards the downside. There could be at that point. Now, looking here at the MACD and this previous low, then we can see that we have what could obviously be conceivably bullish divergence, hidden bullish divergence on the MACD indicator just here, and that's nice to see. A component of that is this big wick that we've had. So let's bear in mind that this wick is going to point out a very key area for us across numerous different ways of analyzing this price, looking at different channels such as the Donchian channel. We could be looking down here and saying this is a very significant price point, but also as well entwined with how this is calculated between the two different oscillators. We'll bear in mind that this would be the undoing of this MACD hidden bullish divergence would of course be the confirmation of the convergence on the RSI in that sense, and that would be then doubly negative as you'd watch it pushing down past the neutral line, but moreover past these previous lows. And these previous lows on the RSI at this point here represent the previous low in the price action, and if we were to push on past that, then we would maybe have a swing failure pattern to look at across the highs, calling in for a potential reversal pattern here to be seen on the broad time frame. But we don't have to really worry too much about that quite yet, although there are some warning signs already for us with this cross we had. Now what we can say is that the price action today has indeed uncrossed that, and that was a lovely scenario that led to it with that divergence. So we've uncrossed it just now, so things have started to look good again, and that coincides with what we're seeing on the higher time frames here as we look towards the to the convergence here at the lows. Now of course we do have the bearish divergence at the highs on the RSI and the MACD, so that's not good, and we're aware of that. But how long can the party go on? And we're of course not crossed over here on this 3-day time frame in terms of the DMI, etc. Now we haven't crossed over here, but there is this clear sign of the potential for head and shoulders here on the oscillators down below. So there is a lot of weakness shown to us in terms of the upside already in place. But we've done enough currently to open up some opportunities, at least in terms of the short term, to look towards upward movements. But we're going to have to be extremely aware therefore of market structure, because without coming in and taking out putting in a higher high, then we're going to have left us in a situation where we've more or less confirmed the divergences across the broader time frame. So what we're wanting to see then therefore obviously is higher highs. So we really need to push on past 58,000, but the first series of moves to doing that are going to be taking out all of these areas that we're looking at currently, as namely really starting off with where we are right now and the 50% Fibonacci retracement point, pushing on up towards the previous highs and making sure we don't take out that low along the way as we do it. And that's why we have all of these things drawn in here that show you the real sort of veins and blood and guts of it. Bum bum ba dum bum bum. Cool. So migrating away from that chart that's got a lot of stuff on it and going back to life, back to reality. We had our high up here at the 4414. Nice. Moved on down the way, came down to the 2.24. Nice, moved up. Then we're in between on that particular, you know, historic thing that we're looking at. Wonder what we were talking about in terms of those arrows over there. But the structure here, you know, this is important. We'd have taken this out, or not taken it out. We've come in here and equaled it again with the lows from today. Really coming in here at that key area. Now, of course, as well, you know, we've done it, so that was nice. And moving on up the way would obviously be good, but we can see how this would obviously have a cascade of weakness to follow down the way if we don't take out the, you know, the previous areas along the way nicely. If we have to have any retracements, fine, sure, whatever, but we need to see the overall upward trend kind of, you know, regaining its mojo. 12-hour time frame. Potential to come in for this cross then, which would give us, like, you know, the first steps and doors doing that here. Well, the first step is seen on the 24-hour time frame, as we already have, but then, you know, in terms of like actually seeing this happen in front of our eyeballs, is then this is where we would look to, for instance, as an example for that. This then coming in and saying, well, it's at this stage again, we just only managed to close our bodies, but we did still do it, still preserving this as potential for hidden bullish divergence here on the oscillator. So still preserving that case to be made where you say everything's looking really, really great whenever it kind of goes up towards the top side, and you get a lot of "I told you so" type people coming out of the woodwork who didn't really tell you so. And then, of course, as well, if it goes towards the downside, then you can see how the cascade of certain things would start to happen in terms of the certain elements to the good, you know, being removed off of that Abraham Lincoln pro and con list, or whatever it was, Benjamin Button, whoever made that thing. Cool. Cool. Just let me catch up with the chat here. What? There's been a couple of donations. I didn't see them coming in. Sorry about that. It's just the music, I guess. Is the time frame the fib is more useful than others? No, but there are multiple time frames which will distract you away from the key areas. It's always best to kind of look across them. I would probably say that the time frame, if you're in terms of the fibs, to split them up is a nice and easy way to do it. Is to get one out there on the 24-hour time frame. You're looking at key market structure. So in terms of like the just is the 24-hour time frame enough for you to be able to see, you know, what you're looking for, etc., or not, you know, and can you then pull it in from the highs and lows and whatever. So, you know, sometimes you want to be drawn in just for pure practical purposes on a larger time frame, just to fit it in, you know, and then dropping back down the way again. And as you can see in what we talked about today, I looked at ones that are drawn in from on different time frames, but for specific purposes in mind, with regards to the risk and reward and the management of that specific trade in that specific instance, and looking at the key inflection points leading up to it. And you can see at any given time that while I will overlap them, I maybe have 3 at the same time on the screen, that they all have their own sort of purpose from different time frame points of view. But of course, as I was kind of getting at earlier on, there isn't really a different time frame point of view. You have to kind of take the red pill or whatever on all that, right? And understand the interrelationship, because of course we're in a never-ending market here, me hearties, and the seas are full of opportunities, my friends. Right, moving on here to Mexel Dude. Could you take a look at the BNB if you get a chance, please? Yeah, okay, Mexel Dude, I'll take a look at that as well. Scrolling on down the way, thanks for the in-depth BCC target analysis, mate. Winky face, rocky outcrop. Yeah, cool. What do you think of that technical analysis, folks? Midlands Performance Cars, this is next level. Thank you so much for that. That's really, really appreciated. I didn't hear back from you about whether or not you've got a YouTube channel or whatever. Or I mean, I didn't read back from you, sorry. Let me know yourself. Rocky check back in chat, says K-Doc. So I wonder if that was in relation to those super chats and whatnot. And thanks, folks, for that. By the way, really massively appreciate it. Appreciate it to the maximum, folks. Let me just check I've still got enough the old Muzak to keep going. Got enough Muzak to keep going just now. That's good, ladies and gents. Right, get down to something that makes this less all hidden up. Way, okay, that's a bit better. People tuning in at random now will see green in the background. Oh, green in the background. That's nice, my hearties, isn't it? It's nice to have green in the background. Not on YouTube. Well, we are, but don't use it. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, still, I would have given you a shout out. It's nice to have you here. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button and come back again from wherever you are. The Midlands, actually, as it happens. To everybody who's wondering where's the Midlands, the bit in Game of Thrones where all the battles happened in the middle, and you know, it's the Midlands. Yeah, that's that bit. That's where it is. For people who are wondering where I am, I'm up above the wall in the very north. I'm in the north here, just as a sort of just to kind of put things into a context you might be more familiar with. Just checked out Midland Performance Cars website, and I just drooled all over the cars they have in stock. There you go. There you go. Well, there's a nice little plug for my pal. Danny Ray updated outlook on Telcoin price action. Questions coming in about Telcoin, so that's something. By the way, thank you K-Doc for hitting the like button. By the way, everybody, ladies and gents, be like K-Doc, do that too. Hit that like button. Busy hitting all those women back with a stick. What's that? Always learning, guys. Drop a like on the video. Yeah, he's not noticing the supers. It's cool though, guys. I'm back noticing supers like a superstar. I'll never miss a super ever again. Everything is gravy. Everything is gravy. Oh, I've just remembered all of this. Well, I gave the TA, right? I gave the TA. Let's, I guess, try and find a cleaner chart and do something for the folks back home. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, for the folks back home, we're going to be making another video here for the folks back home right now. We can't really use the 1 minute time frame. We can use the 5 minute time frame. Right, we could use the 5 minute time frame, could we, to make this? Let's the folks back home, and we need to find a cleaner page than that one. It was the one that I used the other day. Did I do it on Ananda for the laughters? BTC USD. Somebody asked me a question. Could I take a look at the Bitcoin, the BNB price? Yes, I could. And somebody else asked, do I get confused when I go between USD and GBP? I just spend so much time in the old USD land that yeah, no, I do, but I just yeah, I do get confused. I have to peg it all back to the charts and try and figure out what I was looking at before. Obviously, this is, you know, almost the same, but where was it I had this on? Ananda. Did I do that? Did I do the TA on Ananda last time just for the crack? Let's not do it on Ananda though, because that's just silly. I just wanted to find a clean chart. Back to Bitstamp. Boop. Midland Performance Cars. Why are you not advertising cars purchased by Bitcoins? Cheers. Oh my god, he's not a believer. Quick, everybody get him. Everybody get him. Lynch him. He's an imposter. He's a fiat imposter, guys. We're all about cryptocurrency. We've got a fiat imposter in our midst. Yeah, my goodness. That's disgraceful. That's right, Michael John Scott. I'm glad you called him out on it. Just kidding, you know. Probably that's funny. Yeah, still looking for that chart. Still looking for that chart that I want to use. How about this one? This one's a nice one to use for it. This one's a nice one to use for it, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Right, perfect. Like now, what we have to do is we have to make a video in the manner Crypto. I didn't really do this properly last time. I mean, I did it great. It was drop the mic. It was fantastic. But in terms of this time round, it needs to be. I need to actually publish it on YouTube. You know. Right. So we're gonna run the intro clips and all that good stuff. By the way, everybody, ladies and gentle friends of the jury, stick with me through all this because I will be going on to take a look at the other coinages that we do on the channel rather briefly. In fact, what time is it right now? Let's get this done in the next couple of minutes and check in with market closes in America. Market close in America. Market close and oh yeah, what I forgot to do was I have set up this thing here. Let's see if it works. Hi friends. Right now I've got this so I can zoom in on the price action. Now this would have been cool, wouldn't it, to have been doing that during my explanations earlier on. And I've got I bring up the oscillators, right, and then check this one out. Badoom. Oscillators. Wait a minute, I'm missing something there, haven't I? I'm missing the McDonald's Ademicals. The Macademicals. Bring on these MacDs back on down again. So yeah, check it out. Then I could go like, let's look at the damn oscillators, yo. And then I can go back to this and go, what do we like? Channel evolution, ladies and gents. Right, so we're going to introduce it over here on the big screen. Right, and we'll bring up the chart action. Right, and we'll close that out. Ba-doom, ba-doom, boom, ba-doom, boom. And we'll be ready to run the intro clips. So, oh wait, no, I've not actually transitioned between any of them. Ah, there's me celebrating, and you're all at home going, what the hell is he talking about? It's not changed. Sorry, I'm on the wrong mode here. I want to, like, here's the big one. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So, if... So that's different, right? Here's the one for the zoom, right? That's cool. That would have been good to be using. Here's the one for the oscillators. Pop, you know, oscillators. For when I'm talking about DEM, and there's the volume, of course, as well. Here's the background. That's what we started off with. Right, cool. Okay, so this is the zoom. This is the zoom. So we can start off the show like this on this one, ladies and gentle friends. Okay. And we also we want to be ready to run the intro clip. I also want to be on the bloomin'. I've messed it up, haven't I? Have I messed it up? I think I've messed it up. It seems to be like struggling to play intro clip. I wonder if it's still streaming at all. I've lost my TA page. This is awful, isn't it? It's gone black. Come back, everybody. Come back. I'm still here, everybody. Just trying to get it set up for the stream thing, right? Gosh, that's awful. Where is it though? Did I Oh, Jesus Christ. Alright, I'll be chucking that out of the video. After... There's a picture I made. It's lovely, isn't it? Okay. Okay, cool. Let me just check out the chat here. Minute performance car... Oh, right, yeah. Nah, they close in 5 minutes. They close in 5 minutes. They close in 5 minutes. The markets. 5 minutes. We've only got... We have to make this video in less than 2 now. I've really messed up. But it's all good, isn't it? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the show. We're going to be taking a look at... No, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say something about Bitcoin right at the start. Get the words right. Bitcoin prices have moved up today. They've done really well. Bitcoin versus USD. Technical analysis coming up right now. I'm going to be sharing with you my exact price targets, how you're going to be able to manage your risk, everything that you need to do to be successful in this market. Guys and girls, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you drop a like on the video because it really helps the channel. And over to the intro clip. So, hi friends, welcome to the 4-hour Bitcoin chart. And what we had recently was 3 troughs in the price action. But if we actually look at the oscillators down below, then we can see that the price action actually, as it was going down, was getting these lower or these higher lows in the old oscillator bobs over here. That's the MACD. Then you've got the RSI, so we've got these this confirmation of the bullish divergence, and then we had this lovely cross here in the DMI. So off the back of that bullish case scenario, where are we looking for in the price action? Because we know that things are looking pretty good here for us. Let's just check in with the actual price action itself. Okay, zooming in on the actual, you know, the actual chart here, and looking at these moving averages. Now there's a series of moving averages. The key ones I'm looking at are this red dotted line and this white dotted line. That's the 200 simple period moving average, and the red dotted line, of course, is the 50 simple period moving average. And we got a lovely bounce off of this up to the 50 simple. Now if we get a good entry anywhere in this area above the 200 simple, and indeed above this 236 Fibonacci retracement point, which comes in at 45,700, then we could be looking. So if that's your position right now, then great, cool, excellent. Everything above that in terms of what we're talking about now is good when we look towards breaking past 49,000. When we get past this moving average here and start to go up afterwards, then there is great targets up from where we are right now. In fact, there are a whole host of them, and drawing in this Fibonacci retracement, we can look and say that the first, you know, 151,000, very nice, 52, 53,000, very nice, but all of this does is keep us within the structure of where we are. What if that 4-hour DMI cross does actually explode towards the top side? Where could we be looking? And in fact, the price targets that I'd be starting to talk about then come in at 68,683. That could be it then, and of course that's how I'll be playing this one, just to let you all know out there in crypto land. Hit that like and subscribe button. Do of course come back. But then in terms of managing my risk, of course I'm keeping my eye out for movements below this zone between 46,000 down to 45,000, just in terms of this trade. Huge upside potential, guys and girls out there. Let me just draw this in for you in terms of upside potential for us between these two areas if you're managing your risk here. And of course going on up towards the top side, then what you could be looking at is and wait for it ladies and gentlemen, this is a crazy 23 to 1, ladies and gentlemen, a 23 to 1 risk reward trade here. Absolutely incredible stuff. A 23 to 1 risk reward trade. Now of course, if you manage your risk in any other format and you're looking down to say something like a 5 to 1 risk reward, then perhaps you're talking about breaking down past our previous lows in there. That's talking about going down towards that 42,000 area. If you've got a hard stop, then of course the tiers could be found at the end of that rainbow, because afterwards, if we do go down there and don't break on down past, then I wonder how we're shaping up for the next bounce up. The best move today, of course, was from this low down there at the 42s up to the highs, and we're talking about what could come next. Hit that like, subscribe, come back for a live stream sometime. Be sure to do that. Oh shit, it was all crap. Right, I screwed it. Right, markets are closed. Let's just jump on over and check out how the I'll have to do that Bitcoin thing again. Oh, the chat was pretty good. I liked the chat, but I'm really not used to these new zoom levels. That would have been much better. God, it would have been such a great episode. Everybody would have loved it. It would have been fantastic. Everybody would have loved it. Yeah, so we did what we thought we would do, ladies and gentlemen. Up there, came up towards this lovely golden pocket, retraced back down the way, came down to the next area of support, found it at the 50 simple, then moved up the way, coming in with a nice positive day here. Good, stronger day's price action than what we experienced recently. Just to answer somebody's question asked, you know, during the live stream earlier on, you know, looking at things across different time frames. As you can see, I drew this in the 24-hour time frame. It's quite zoomed out. It's hard to see what's really going on the 4 hour time frame. Let's just drop down to the 15-minute time frame and hit the auto button, and you can see that in terms of your question, what's more useful in what time frame, it's really more a case of finding the right areas to draw them in from and then choosing the time frame that helps your eyeballs out the most. Here on the 15-minute time frame, we're finding our support at the end of the day above these moving averages, giving us a nice close to the day. If this were to be our low overall, upward sloping move could be a little bit steep here for us in terms of the overall structure. Wonder if we'll see movement up towards the next big area for us, which comes between these 2 points here at 152 as a potential profit taking target before we then move on up or down thereafter. But there's certainly another nice re-entry perhaps thereafter at 125 on that one. Wouldn't that be nice after those profit taking targets? We're talking about a few moves there that are in the sort of 30%, 40% type region there in terms of your trading, so that's quite nice to have seen. Oh, look at that lovely jubbly. Finding that, of course, in terms of this big Fibonacci here, that we are really operating between the golden pocket region here as we zoom on back down towards the 15 minutes, the actual visible candles here, finishing off the day with a decent enough strength move. Could we be looking at some sort of cup with handle here at this point? Well, we never really got a very nice set of lips on this one. What's it like on the 30-minute? There's just this little movement here. Could be in terms of something to look out for intraday trading tomorrow. On this one, however, currently really I'm not going to be looking at that myself. I'm just thinking here that we found a 236 Fibonacci support point in on that move up after all, with the end of close pricing. Actually moved as far down almost as the 382 there, but not quite. Staying above the moving averages there. It's okay, but the diminishing volume is not very attractive. In terms of the highs that we've had, of course this is coming in with bearish divergence, so I need to look out for this one in terms of what we're really operating with. This most recent structure here, with its real big high, the sort of the enthusiasm that came there a day or two ago, we've then subsequently moved back up quite a bit, and that's good. But I'm a little bit intrigued as to, no, that's the high there. It's not really bearishly divergent. It's not. No, it's not. It's fine. In fact, it's really good. It's got that healthy retrace on it. Yeah, that's nice. And we found support at that key area where we wanted to be at. That's decent overall. That's nice. Yeah, it's good. Right, cool. Nice one. The beat goes on. The trend is your friend until the end of the trend. This is a good stock. I like the stock. Let's just go with that. On this one, let's get a quick check in with how Nokia finished its days trading. Wait a minute. Where is it traded at? Yeah, this is where we're looking for the NYSE. Had to change that to NOK to get it. Not as much liquidity on this stonk as you can see here in terms of the 5-minute time frame. Looking up towards the 4 hour, how did we manage to achieve in terms of this? Didn't actually break past the that's a bit of a mess. Didn't actually manage to break past the neutral line. So there was that sort of what we didn't quite manage. Then what we didn't quite manage was moving past the 200 simple period moving average, and that's all very interesting in the face of what is actually been bullish divergence here on the MACD and the RSI overall as well, that we've kind of left so much on the plate for tomorrow. We've got this interesting extreme chop change over here on the DMI, but of course it is actually there in place. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw volatility as we have done in recent highs, giving people probably plenty of opportunity in the next wee while with this one. Be interested to see, can we get a push past the 236 here, the 200 simple period moving average, and maybe be able to take a trade off the back of that in tomorrow's session with a move up towards the 50 simple. Could that be the move to be had in the same way that what we talked about with Bitcoin is the case? So we'll have to look and see if we've got momentum carrying us through. We don't have too much of a volume aspect to really be looking at, but it is a slight increase, I suppose, here in and around about these zones. Be interesting to see how we carry through on that one. Let's take a look at BB for us real quick, BlackBerry Limited, and over here on this one we have a nice series of lows that came in, nice bit of bullish divergence therefore. Oh, the volatility on this one is going to be real. I'm looking at the minute here. My next move on this one has to be let's just just actually just come in here. Oh, excellent. Yes, indeed. The next move here with this yellow line is up there towards $14 now. It's going to be a zone for me, operating somewhere between sort of $12.50 and $14. We're looking here and saying $13 would be probably, I'm not a financial advisor, none of this is financial advice, a wise profit taking target if we were to actually try and play a break of a move here towards the top side, playing off of a crossover here on the moving averages if we're able to get one, coming up to try and test around about that 50 simple if we get a turnaround here. Now what we're looking for on this one is to break past structural stuff. Seeing this previous high here, it looks to me think that maybe, you know, what we could see is the sort of inflection and perhaps volatility that would kind of burn it off a little bit earlier for us. If it doesn't happen, we could be looking as well towards something like that. But overall, this zone would be an interesting one to be taking profits on this if we're trading it between the region that we're talking about now. This, of course, a 20% move, and that's or indeed 30, and if you want really greedy, you could look up to 40. So we don't really need to be too convoluted here overall. Just really not wanting to actually hold on to movements down here if I was trading this with leverage, for instance. But in terms of liking the stonk, I like the stonk, and you know, I'd be happy enough to manage my risk with regards to not breaking past, I suppose, the just in terms of the lower end of the Donchian channel here that we have kind of been alluding to throughout the episodes so far with regards to lower end wicks. So that's really lovely to see. What do we want to see here next? Maybe we touch the old USD Jipways just to see how we're doing at the minute. Lovely to see with 106.7 there on that. That is, of course, get it to you, get it up you, Japan, with your yen, or we don't want your yen, we want your US dollars. That's, of course, how the international forex market works. It's a lot of baying of gentlemen in suits. I mean, what we're looking for next here is to take a look at my good old pal gold. Gold. Always believe in gold. And what we're looking at here is this low over here having been broken with the most recent movement down the way. Now what we had on the oscillators below here was this low on the RSI and this low on the RSI. I'd hardly say that this was any sort of hidden bullish divergence or anything like that for us. You know, this is our visible bullish divergence as part of this overall downward trend that's been going on. Then we're looking between these two lows at this point and saying, well, actually there's a little bit of bullish divergence. Where did that take us to? Only as far as this, which was a test of the 50 simple, and now we've come on down the way again. Now, of course, with this most recent of lows, maybe we are going to be able to look across a broader time frame and to compare and say that there is something here. No, it just doesn't have it. It's not great. Nothing really good looking in that for us as people, I suppose, return to the world of value with regards to their value seeking or undervalued, opportunity at the minute. Just the flavor of the markets right now. So that doesn't bode very well for Bitcoin overall. That doesn't. Let's just be honest with how that kind of is, because that's our charts over here. We did get this nice inverted head and shoulders movement. Where did it come up to? Well, that was that, and then we moved on down the way, taking out that previous low like we've already spoken about. The volatility, as we can see here, as denoted by that DMI, giving us a big swings up the way that ultimately came back down and retook it where we were. So of course we're looking to that in terms of what we're talking about with the volatility already. But over here with regards to gold, the most positive thing that we have is, can we kind of force this into a structure whereby we say that we've got a potential of a breakout towards the top side? Now that's just getting a bit greedy on it. Instead, how about we kind of talk about this from the more or less the harsher end of the stick that we're speaking about, the harsher realities, the bare necessities, those bare necessities. When we're looking at this one, let me just get rid of that. That was a load of nonsense. We'll skip using Fibonacci for just this minute or anything, because of course that's had too much of the old screen time so far today, ladies and gents. Directly instead, what we're going to do is use where is she? Fib channel. That's what I was looking for here on this and say that, you know, we've gone down past the 236. Is it the end of the pain on this one? Well, I would say that, you know, we could actually be about to witness the prices actually go on and test lower, but we do have the 200 simple here. This would be a really lovely place to see it getting move up the way. Therefore, we could manage a risk easily in at this zone of saying, well, if we manage to take this target out again towards the top side, talking about 1737, then maybe we are looking at the potential for a move up in towards this general region where we'll see the 50 simple coming back down again for a subsequent retest and giving us another one of these 200 period to 50 period moving average trades. Now this is on the 2-day time frame, so we're looking down the way. You can see that this is not on other time frames, and this is actually, you know, what this is actually for me is more of a trade of saying that if we're able to take out this zone, which we may not be able to do, then we could be looking up towards coming in for a retest of the 50 simple period moving average, following on from a golden cross over there, ladies and gentlemen, on the a death cross, a death cross on the 24-hour time frame there, ladies and gentle folk. So that's what you're looking at on that one. I wouldn't be saying that's a massively bullish thing overall. Instead, I'd be looking for what could potentially turn out to be a variety of things. Perhaps we look at this and say that there's some sort of head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders pattern that takes us up into this zone eventually over that period of time there. Or, you know, we could be looking at it and saying, if we don't get that type of a move up the way that that we just have this, you know, this just moving within the channel, etc., etc., that sort of thing. But overall, I'll be cautious in terms of this until we see a resolution of this downward movement. Okay, and that's now when I want to bring on bring on the fib. He's bringing on the fib, ladies and gentlemen. He's brought it on. And point out that in terms of these movements down the way, we have come down towards the 618. We've not actually taken out the 618 golden pocket, doing this negative stuff that I'm talking about now and looking down towards 1652 and the ocean blue and all that good stuff, then would be where that would be going next. Okay, that's what that would be all about. So back over to Bitcoin land, and I'll run through the TA for our friends here at home, for the guys at home. Okay, for everybody not tuned into this live show. Hi friends, let me just drop a stream marker. Hi friends, welcome to the show. Bitcoin technical analysis coming up. We're looking at Bitcoin USDT here today. It's going to be great. We're going to be talking about the potential for more upside price action, and there are very, very good reasons to look towards that. Not on this noisy chart over here. Whoa, excuse me. Let me bring up one of the other charts. The what chart was it that I did it all on earlier? Was it this one that nobody could see? I think it probably was this one. Ladies and gentle folks, I really messed that up, didn't I? I did, didn't I? I did, didn't I? Hi friends, Bitcoin technical analysis. Are we looking at the prices giving us a potential for a 23-to-1 move towards the top side? That's right, I'm talking about explosive, blow your socks off move, the overall target for which is 68,000. Well, it could happen. Let me tell you a little bit more about how I'll be trading Bitcoin over the next wee while, my exact entries, exits, price targets, and everything you need to know. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you drop a like and a subscribe. So friends, we have this measured, this example move on the charts, and we could be looking all the way up as high as $68,800 for a profit taken on that. And of course, then your risk to reward on this one is that if it was based around 5-to-1 risk to reward, we could be talking about stopping it around about 42 if that were the case. And then of course, what we would be talking about if we wanted a 23-to-1 would be to be managing this very, very tightly off of the previous lows. Now that is of course very much getting ahead of ourselves, because what I do want to point out is that over the next wee while we will need to keep a close eye on that area of that previous low in terms of the price action. Okay, so there's a few things that make me say that, and just making the zoom a little bit better for us, then let's run through them. Okay, so we have got on the 4-hour time frame, when I bring up the oscillators down below, we have got this nice bullish divergence, which gives us that that's given us that previous move towards the top side. We also had the break of the wedge that we spoke about going up the way, and we also have a couple of other things happening that are giving us the reason for why we've already moved up to the degree that we have. And I think it's worth exploring exactly, you know, how far we've come up. And in terms of Fibonacci, we've come up as high as the 382 Fibonacci point, the 38%, but we're looking towards the 50% and the 618 and saying that reasonable profit taking targets next would, if we do see continuation towards the top side, actually coming at those zones if you're going to be trading this in the ranges that we find along the way with it. Okay, but for now there actually is a profit taking target right where we are right now, and that's this 50 simple period moving average, having had a test of this 200 simple period moving average, the white dotted line here, and then found that we saw the prices move towards the top side thereafter. The basis for any moves off of the current price territory is all kind of based around the idea of the potential shift in trend here that we're seeing in the 4-hour time frame, where we have this crossover. Now on the 24-hour time frame, what that looks like is this right here. We are just about to do the same sort of a thing. Now this ADX is a little bit lower than what we like to see, but if we do achieve this towards the top side, then we're looking at getting nice payoff off the back of this hidden bullish divergence. Now, of course, we have already had that to a good degree with the movement past the wedge that we were already talking about in Friday's episode here overall, having actually come down as far as a really lovely entry or profit taking target if you were shorting it, indeed, down there at 42 as well. And that's very, very good. But we've had this move so far. Is there more to go? Well, there could be more to go, absolutely, and as well we could see them going up as far as a full Fibonacci retracement, but if we towards the 1618 as well, full and beyond. But if we do go back down from this point here to test the 50 simple period moving average, more or less the same concept as what we're talking about. Will we need to see this happen in terms of a low coming in if we do what looks like breaking the shallow inflection resistance and support price that we had in the past? Now this area over here is where we've come down as far as and no further. If we actually do go on down to test the 50 simple here, we'd also be doing a couple of other big targets for us, and it would be similar to what we saw the last time we kind of retraced back down the way, taking out the inflection. Now we want to see an overall turn towards the top side without actually turning this into undoing the goodness of this potential divergence. But until such times as we get a proper move past previous highs, starting with 50,000, 51,000 up to 53,000, then that's where we are with that one. Okay, went on a bit longer than I wanted to, but that's your TA for us. Cool, okay on that one. Let's then dive on and take a look at some Ethereum USD TA. Okie dokie, there's a couple of ways we could be looking at this. Overall, let me hide the drawings for us. What we've got here is a wedge that broke out towards the downside, and then it's maybe finding the potential for support in it around about some key areas for us. Looking over to the left, where you can see the liquidity was really in around about this 1300 zone, having actually tested 1300 and a little bit lower, and then found the movement up the way. We did speak about this. I feel sorry for whoever it was recently in the chat who said that, you know, they were going to get wiped out at 1350. Is there a chance of it going there? And the answer being, well, yes, and then it haven't happened. Sorry, buddy. But now you can at least see how, you know, looking back from then till now, how that was a possibility, and as well then why this maybe would represent a decent enough area for it to be able to be getting in on a trade. Like with Bitcoin, you've got the potential for this to be hidden bullish divergence for us if you're considering one of these to be a low on the 24-hour time frame. And we've had a nice movement up the way. In terms of the 4-hour time frame, then you can see that we actually had a death cross here, and this has actually come up to test the 50 simple period moving average. So if you're watching the other TA that we put out so far, you'll see that this is one of the things that we'd like to talk about, and this has actually happened now. You could short this off the back of that, looking for further continuation towards the downside. This bullish divergence we've had so far has been great and lovely to see, and it's succeeded insofar as that it's taken us up towards the fantastic targets of the 382 Fibonacci retracement point, but it's, you know, it's not successfully done anything yet that's changed the story, and we need to stay above the 1530 zone, really, to be honest with you, and try and push up and test that 200 simple period moving average, so that we can take advantage of this potential bullish divergence to get us a turnaround, of course, you know, so that this can be the end of this chunk of a downward trend, and that overall we can look towards this zone as having given us a degree of hidden bullish divergence on this larger time frame, linking those two concepts together. Otherwise, of course, what we're looking at is failure of one, which can cascade over to failure of t'other. So will this recovery that we're seeing so far be good enough for us? Well, it could be, and we do actually have profit targets as well in mind already. This chart here is not the chart I wish to be using. It's just, you know, there you go, that's a bit better. Because we've actually managed to stay above where our previous Fibonacci will tell us was the previous high, and found our critical market support in there at that area at the time on a lower time frame basis, putting in what could maybe have been some sort of reversal type pattern here at the lows down the way with the bullish divergence, maybe off the back of that 236, off the back of that previous high on the, as we can see where the previous high was. At this, that's the 1 point, that's the previous high from back in January 2018. Then what we could then maybe be looking at is the potential for movements towards the top side, and what they come in looking like is, of course, past the 1600 area up to 1750 to 1800 as your next, not breaking the structure of the potential reversal if this were to be an all-time high, and us not do that yet. That's your get out of jail with max profit zone. But then your actual continuing on to higher areas is the 2.5 grand target that we've had more or less in mind for a while, with various other targets in between, etc. You know, in particular 2200 and 2022. Okay, so we've had this negative cross here on the 2-day time frame on the DMI. That's not great. That's the overall look of things. The 3-day time frame telling us that if we do get across here, that we're starting to look really negative. The fact that we've got this turnaround here on the you know, the big time frame of the weekly, where we've had, you know, very rare movements up towards this zone. This all makes it seem like it could be very toppy in that area. Okay, that's just the reality of it in the broader term time frames. But how can we continue on? Well, breaking that narrative back down the way, you know, we know that there's this developing story of negativity on the broader term time frames, but we're currently above the 236 that we need to be up above when Christopher Columbus did his old sailing the ocean jazz in there around about 1428 or whatever, something like that. He did it. So around about there, so long as we're above that, then then things are still okay, right? That's the way to look at it for now. And we got doubly confirmation on that with the 1465 area of the other 236 that we're getting so far, and the profit taking comes in there, like I say, 1800, unless you're wanting to then, you know, ride that roller coaster of the next phase in the market thereafter. That's based off the fact that we see follow through on this RSI and the bullish divergence, potential hidden bullish divergence there for us in the face of that negative cross on the daily time frame, and then dragging that back down the way and saying, well, maybe on these lower time frames like the 24-hour flowing down to the 12, as you can see, the DMI still very negative, but then it get down towards the 4 hour, you say, well, maybe actually what we're seeing on that side is the waning of that negativity, as you see it waxing on the bigger time frames, putting that struggle between the two, and that's your risk and reward for you. And if you want to succeed at trading, what you'll probably benefit from with regards to Ethereum. Move scale to the left. There we go. That's probably going to be better for everybody on the show there. Continuing on with the snazzles, by the way, if I've missed any more chat from anybody, I apologize. But I think I would see it now if anybody did do that sort of thing. Here we have Chainlink. There's two stories to be told here. Did I write it out on this one? Because it's like, yeah, okay, look, there's the easy story and the hard story. But what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little bit of both, right? So if you're here for the easy story, then really, you know, great. We're going towards the top side with Chainlink. Everything's fan-dabby dozy. The hard one in terms of, you know, to tell the story, hard story to tell, is to explain why there could actually maybe be some more downside for us, right? On on the chain link chart. And I'm going to start off that harder explanation. Well, actually, no. How about we just wrap up the easier one? Okay, so let's just go over to Zoom as well here. Ladies and gentle friends, as you can see, between the highs and the lows, this is this white Fibonacci, right? Is it? Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. It's the red one, but red's basically invisible to my eyes. So for anybody who's colorblind out there, they'll not be liking that. Let me just change it up. I'll make it this kind of bluish type color, at least it might be more visible. And drag it on over to the right so it's easier to do this. Okay, right, so easy story, hard story. I'll just also delete that text because the people watching at home don't need to see that. Okay. Hello friends, Chainlink price action has got a really positive future ahead of it, starting right here, right now. The fact of the matter is that we've managed to find support at the 236 Fibonacci retracement point in here when the prices were $24. Right now the prices are $26.7 in here, just shy of the 382. That's our next target, as we can see, the 8-period Fibonacci. I'll start this again. Chainlink prices are going to explode towards the top side. There's very good reasons for that. There's also very good reasons for why they might not. If you want to have the full story so that you can trade this most effectively, stay through to the end. If you're just looking for the next upside Chainlink price targets, then I'm going to deliver them for you right here, right now. So Chainlink price has been moving towards the top side today. It found support at the 236 Fibonacci. It would be nice, of course, to break past that $27 area. We're all familiar enough with that, having spent enough time in this region recently. After all, right? And that's the kind of the basis as well for saying that actually the next target towards the top side thereafter is 29. The next one is 31 to $32 or $33. In it around about that zone, there could be a good deal of profit taken. If you want to take profit at all three of those levels along the way, I'm not a financial advisor. By all means, go ahead and do your own research and make your own decisions, but that might be something you might think about doing. Okay, but there is actually another complicated story, and this is off the back of this pattern. You know, the easy side of this to say is we've had the full measured move off of this, resulting in a healthy retrace where we didn't take out structural lows, and we've done that now, moving towards the top side. All good, fan dabby dozy, right? And then there is, of course, the more complicated story where you might want to know the details. And looking at this in a bit more thing, you know, supporting that positive side, we have the case for hidden bullish divergence here on the MACD. Now we've actually got a potential swing failure pattern here in terms of the RSI as well to be aware of. So we have moved below the neutral line. Failure to really take this out again is going to be negative, and it coincides with that negative, of course, DMI structure that we have. Looking up the way in terms of the time frame, we're coming in for the potential for a cross here in the 3-day, and of course, as you can see, the week still far enough apart. In fact, the week overall looking fairly decent, but there is this clear case to be made for the huge bearish divergence on the RSI and the DMI at this stage, not on the MACD. And overall, I want the bullish trend to continue, and because this all is happening in all-time highs sections, I'm going to cut it that little bit of slack as then I move back down the chart and go towards the 4-hour and show us that we've just had this cross here, lovely jubbly, and that's good. Now if we do move down the way, then what would be the reason for that? And that's also visible here on the 4-hour. So if this doesn't work out for us, that positive cross that we've had, and we can't get to take advantage of this bullish divergence that we've seen between these lows here over the last wee while, what we're looking at is to say that the prices could then continue on down. First off, the next target, you know, towards the downside is clearly where our previous lows were, and that's bringing us back down towards 23 again. And at these prices, that's a big drop down the way, and that's and one of the reasons for saying that would be because we're in here at this death cross on the 4-hour time frame. So let's play this a little bit smart and say that what we want to see happen is for the prices to really take out the 200 simple period moving average, maybe even retest it, whatever, and undo the damage of this death cross here in the 4-hour time frame before it becomes a reality elsewhere. Looking at it on the 24-hour time frame, that all involves staying above, you know, at the minimum, the 50 simple period moving average, and giving things a little bit of time now that we've had this recovery from the 236 and it's come up to the 382 and some profit taking has occurred at that stage already. Let's try and see if we can combine that together in a sense by looking at the 12-hour time frame with these three most recent lows that are getting that sort of feeling of bullish divergence in this little bit of a structure which could potentially be considered to be a sort of wedge of some sort as well. Everything's a wedge, I suppose, depending on how you look at it, just if you squint your eyes. Diminishing volume there, increase in volume if we get it, then at the same time as a movement past the neutral line, taking out the average there on the RSI and seeing if we can get a resolution positively with a cross on this one. Might all happen at the same time as you see everything that we've talked about here in the other time frame shoring us up and dragging us up the way thereafter. But of course the cross is there, so we can wait and manage things appropriately as it stands for just now. In terms of the 1-hour time frame, incidentally, we're below the 200 simple period moving average, as you know from looking at the 4-hour time frame and the relationship there. So in terms of how you're thinking about things, if that's how you base your trades, then of course that's the same narrative. But looking down the way, you know, again, $25, $23, $21 are the three downside targets, and they are all totally absolutely within reach. So there you have Chainlink. How are we doing here, ladies and gents? By the way, I did Bitcoin, by the way, already a couple of times, by the way, good couple of times, a few times. In my recollection, at least once or twice it was really good, but the camera was off once. So there we have it. That's what happened. So that one's been consigned to history. It's an audiobook one version of it. Don't want to be on that chart. It's a bit. Bang, 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 bang. That's the music. It's me doing an impression of the music. Has it still got enough time for us on this thing? Or is it going to run out soon? It'll run out soon. I'll just dump it back a bit. Right, another stream marker here, just to make it easy for myself. We'll just do this together, this one, okay? Because we've worked through it all already. Hello friends, Tezos price action about to explode towards the top side. Are we going to take advantage of some reversal patterns here for us in terms of the short to medium term? Can we expect upward side price action, or what would be looking at the downside? Now, if we did get upward side price action, do we have any majestic targets there? Well, the Tezos price could see a crazy price of $5.60 Tezos per token per Tezos in the near future. But if you want to actually really think about the next side targets, we're actually still looking towards this 1618 up here at $7.35. Are those possibilities, one of which there, that second one, more than 100% increase towards the top side, still available? Are those options still on for us? Well, I'm here to tell you they potentially are. Looking at the Fibonacci's in terms of the recent highs down to the areas where we've come down to again, then I'm looking at this Fibonacci, which I'll just actually make white for or not white, this is white. I'll make it yellow, or something like that, so you can see the difference between the ones I'm talking about. Okay, so this, in terms of this yellow Fibonacci going against the downward trend that we've just had, we've just arrived back above the 236 in there at the 355 area. That's key for us, and it's lovely to see it happening with a little bit of a pattern that we'll zoom in on in a second. Now, in terms of the bigger Fibonacci retracement there, which is drawn in from the lows over here on the at 150 up to the highs that we've just had, we've actually come down and filled in the golden pocket oh so perfectly, just in that way that we love to talk about with Tezos being wonderful for trading. Well, there you go, down to fill it in, retested around the 618. This wicks showing us they're not quite pushing on down any further. How are the bodies actually doing? Well, we can see the bodies here on the 12-hour time frame are also lining up the way, and these are coming down the way. Oh my goodness, this looks like we have a good case to be made already right here for a triangular pattern of some sort. Now the question really is this going to be a bear flag for us? showing us that we're about to go further towards the downside, or give us the first big stage of a move towards the top side. Going down, by the way, is obviously looking past the 618, and it takes us down to the targets of around about 240, and from there you're looking down to 240 to down to 222 to 222. But really before then, I think the previous low, as represented by not only the 200 simple period moving average here on the 12-hour time frame, the 100 on the daily, but also the Divergence channels here, which you can see, for instance, also all lining up, showing us that this is an area of key consideration if we do go down the way. Let's call that fake out territory for us, our textbook measured move, perhaps, if you want towards the downside. But looking up the way, we can see that we have the baseline of the Divergence channels in at around about $4. We have the 382 in around about $4. We have the 50% in at around about 420. If you want to get high, that's the 50% line to look to. Now the 618 thereafter comes in at 468, and that would be your next target up the way. But off the back of this, in terms of a measured move, really looking at this horizontal yellow serrated line here, which we already laid out, is in around about 450, would be wiser probably in terms of your profit taken if we do get a break towards the top side. A lot of work to be done on this one, it has to be said. So we're really counting on this coming in and saying that we've got some hidden bullish divergence at this low on the MACD. And indeed, let's hope to see that this is showing us the way in terms of a potential cross in the RSI and taking out the structural middle ground of that neutral line. Can we see this come up and cross? However you choose to enter into this is going to be up to you, but if we see all those things happen at the same time as volume coming in with a breakout towards this one, then of course my actual price target is going to come up with a lining up with the perfectly at the bottom end of the neckline or the confirmation line of the previous descending triangle, which marked out the top for us here on Tezos. Okay, giving you that your clear profit taking target up there at 439, right? That's how I'd be going for this one myself, and you can use any of those other numbers we talked about recently. Post that point, then I'll be looking and saying, can we move on past it? And if we do, then of course various ways of managing your risk thereafter and what we'd be looking at. But that's more than good enough in terms of a move for us, because between these 2 points is of course a 22% move. What more do you need? Now, reminders to folk who don't really need it, but they're just quick before we go. If we do go do the same thing and break down past this clear area of the horizontal support line, then we could be looking down towards a 10% drop down move towards the 200 simple. Now that would maybe offer up a decent enough area if we see this giving us as a confirmation for a retest and then up after. That's a different way of trading things. Just simply talking about this from in terms of the pattern of where we are just now and the broader picture of where we could go if this little opportunity doesn't go in our favor. That's essentially what we're talking about on Tezos. Hit that like and that subscribe. I really do appreciate every single last one of you. Cool, nice one. What did we, I did have a long look at T-Court, very interesting. Right, cool, nice one. So anyway, we also had somebody ask earlier on to take a look at Telcoin. I'm going to just really quickly do that over here, and as we can see on this one, the story from before has remained the case. Okay, that enthusiasm that existed at the time on the markets has just really not really expanded out the way. This would be a really good use case, one for anybody who's looking to try and get into looking at the Ichimoku cloud, to drop this on here and see how it all lines up with everything, because this is, you know, a great looking example. As you can see, just as I dropped it in there, exactly that, giving you all of that idea. So if we zoom right on in the way and hide everything else for us, then at the minute on this one, and just simply take a look at it from in terms of where we are right here right now, then by the way, when I say right here right now, that's not my actual accent, that's me kind of taking the mickey. Over at 33, groovy, that's where you want to see that staying above naturellement. We have that not happened yet. Oh, that's great, cool. So just in terms of this one, if we see further downside currently at the minute, in terms of just maybe perhaps coming back down towards the 33 area from 34, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But we are actually right here in the midst of looking at what could be, if you want to see here, the baseline and the conversion line having a potential cross. Let me just make this one green so that there's no confusion between the two. Make it big as well so we can see see here, the green line is below the purple line, right? Maybe that's still confusing to folk. This is a 12-hour time frame. The green one's below the purple one. If over the period of the next 12 to 24 hours we see this cross towards the top side, then that would be a nice move for us, okay? And where we could be looking to in terms of the next targets thereafter really depends on where the price action really is at the time of all that happening. And indeed, if you're just taking it from where we are now, then I would say I would be looking at taking profit perhaps at 38 on this one, really, which is obviously a huge move up from where we are, so that's pretty decent overall. And then I will look up towards other targets up the way. I have still got 54 in mind as the target towards the top side. That's not changed since the other day when I did a video on this coin. And then what am I looking at? Yeah, that's essentially it. If we do drop down below 30, I'd say that there's a short-term opportunity for a more than 10% move. I'd say there's a short-term opportunity perhaps for a 20% move if we break down past 35. Okay, that's Telcoin for you, ladies and gents. Telcoin and Telcoin the same thing? Yeah, they're the same thing. And if they aren't the same thing, then welcome to crypto. You know how it is. What did we have here? I went all in on Link yesterday morning and already took profits once. Well done, Chocobo Coco. Love to see it there in the chats. Teslas and Link charts look almost identical. This is always a good laugh that we like to have when you know, on the show. We've not done it for quite a while, but you know, the main, I taught people technical analysis for free for a year on YouTube, every day posting episodes where I compare the market between Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink and Tezos, with two main obvious categories there: the large cap Ethereum and Bitcoin coins, which largely operate together with really interesting nuances on the Bitcoin Ethereum chart where they're versus each other, and then as well looking at Chainlink and Tezos, and obviously as well looking at them versus Bitcoin frequently, and drawing a whole thing together. And it was fantastic, and it taught a lot of people a lot of magical stuff. And the reason for that as well is because of the similarities. Now, I wouldn't say that they look identical in terms of just the, you know, the 12-hour time frame. However, it has to be said, there's a lot of similarities. And with this pitchfork version that we have over here, you know, staying above the middle line, that's good. So if you're going to use the Chainlink chart to make your decisions on Tezos, how about we say that's versus Ethereum? How about we say that we're really on the cusp of getting a breakout to come up and test the top end of the cloud here? That would be really, really nice. Perfect again for the analysis. You can also see, by the way, as it happens, that this is not an ideal setup at all in terms of Bitcoin, okay? But in terms of Ethereum, it is a decent enough setup, which is interesting when you look back over as well. So this is the sort of thing that we spent a lot of time looking at last year. When you look at the price action for Bitcoin, you say, well, that's looking pretty decent, right? And you look at the price action for Ethereum, you say, well, that could obviously turn around from here. Then maybe that's an interesting point of view when you've got the cloud just there. Now, it'd be nice for it to go through here and to go through the cloud at one of the thickest points of the cloud that it's possible for it to go through. But if it actually kind of straddled it and went along and eventually kind of went through over here, you know, in the next couple of weeks before it pushed back up above 1700, I wouldn't be that surprised either. But I'm not making a prediction off the back of that. I'm just showing the interesting dynamic that exists between the Tezos price versus Bitcoin, the Tezos price versus Ethereum, the Ethereum chart itself, and how the price action for it's lined up versus the Ichimoku cloud as compared to how Bitcoin's price action is lined up versus the Ichimoku cloud. So nothing complicated. Nothing complicated at all. Are we done here, ladies and gents? Are we done here? Nobody's donated to me asking for a coin to be done. I've already chosen one from the chitter chatter box over there. I'll let the likes of TradeSpot, and if you are there right now for me, let me know if we're done here on the stream, in which case I'll just chat for people for a wee while. It's been 2 hours long. I think there's been a lot of educational content in today's episode and all that. Rocky, please email us if you do a beginner TA course 1-to-1 one Midlands Performance Car as I hodl. However, I want to leverage trade. Thank you. Midlands Performance Cars, if you're still here, then go ahead and email me and tell me what you'd like to talk about. But what I actually am planning on doing is putting together a lot of information for the one-on-one trader. That's why today's not one-on-one, the one-on-one trader. Yeah, no, for the for beginners and that's what today's video was geared towards in a lot of ways. Now I know it was like really high level beginners, okay, so for the beginner who wants to, you know, really accelerate everything that they're all about, but that's what it was. And what you'll have noticed is that in the last 2 hours what we've done is an intense interactive TA session where I've shown you a lot of possibilities for analysing how the price currently stands and how you would therefore manage your risk. I've explained the Fibonacci retracement tool a couple of times. I've also introduced a whole host of different indicators to show you a whole host of different ways of trading. And that's all here, all for free, and all really valuable content. If you were to make a course, if I were to make a course for somebody, it would be very hard to make significantly better content than what I've just made. Although the big difference would be to slow it down a whole lot and constantly take questions back from people to try and work them through. But what I want for people to realize is that learning to trade isn't something that you do as you know, for a short period of time. It's like dogs at Christmas, you know, they're really for life, and it's a skill for life. And that's why when people ask me things like how come you never show positions on the on your channel, well, I'm very much morally and ethically against that. I just think it's ethically, I just think it's not actually, I don't really care about the morals of it, to be perfectly honest. I just think the ethics of it really prevent me. But the but that's cool. That's just that's whatever. But I educate people in loads of ways, and you can see, like, I'm sure that you could have taken trades off the back of the stuff that we're talking about in today's episode already. What are the current prices of Bitcoin? 48,700, dropping all the way down here towards the 1 minute time frame, hitting auto. Could you where did we say? Did we talk much about it in the? I can't even remember what I said now. So I'd have to go publish it again and everything. That was a good move, huh? Is this what we already? Is this what? I'm confused about that. I'll have to look back at what we did anyway. But this next move is a possibility for us. Yeah, that's still a possibility. Still pretty good. Still happening. It's still a possibility. Is there a decent shorting opportunity here? Well, it sure is, brah. I'm gonna take this away from here. Oh no. Anyway, I think I'll just check in with the chat here in a second and see. Pretty sure I'm done. Be sure to hit subscribe, Midlands Motors, tell your friends, all that good stuff. And if you like what you're seeing here, because I do it in this way that's not a course that's paid for all the time, but is in fact just full-on education to help people all the time, where you can contact me. I mean, I'm talking here with people, 2 people watching the show here with us at the minute. I've had direct messages from me today helping them, or in the last 24 hours, helping them trade, you know. Shout out to you guys, you know who you are. Now, I won't be able to do that all the time for everybody, certainly not for free, and the end of that is coming at the end of the month, right? So this is the last month where all that happens for free. But, you know, then thereafter you'll be able to get all that from me and be part of a group where you'll learn to trade on the Patreon, and all you have to do is, and through the Discord for the chat and for the group, is just join the Patreon. Now, I would recommend everybody do that, and the group is going paid. Okay, that means that everybody who's in there who isn't already a paid member of one sort or another will get a sort of grace period, and I'll consider grandfathering them over or whatever. But essentially all the links for the Discord, which you get in for free and all that, will be completely removed, and instead it'll all just go exclusively through Patreon membership, right? And that, because I was looking at the lab, and so far the way that my feedbacks that I'm kind of giving myself about the premium section in the Discord, which is open for everybody currently. Be sure to join it, premium, by the way, for everybody, like Midlands Motors, be sure to join it, and learn collectively, everybody helping each other achieve fantastic things together. truly making big difference in people's lives, you know. And if you join that with a view to learning, one day you'll make a difference in other people's lives. It's going to be a fantastic experience for everybody in there. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing that and making the whole thing, because what I'm seeing so far is that it would probably be better just to have it all of the conversations that we have as part of the premium chat, and then 1 or 2 little free groups. But I want to have feedback from people about that. I just think that there's not much point in limiting it to one particular thing, because it won't be about signals, it's about education. Okay, so be sure to join the Patreon if you want to have that information. Now, there's other benefits to being part of the community. Now, joining the Patreon is great, and there's benefits to it, you know. Of course, at the minute it's essentially on a paying it forward basis, where you're helping other people get access to this sort of information, but etc. But I've been giving these things out for free. It's kind of the premium experience to people who've been contacting me directly, etc. They're all getting that, and I don't say to them, this is what you're getting. Instead, I just kind of say, hey, you know, this is my answer and whatever. But it's completely unrealistic for me to do that for everybody all the time. So of course that will be another feature of the premium as well. So that'll be another benefit of the Patreon thing. But one of the other benefits of the community at large is that you get to find out about things such as the cryptocurrency projects that we as a community will be running and founding and developing together. And of course as well, you know, there will be professionals and a foundation and stuff like that set up as well. And I think there's a lot of people out there getting excited about it. And I know I've told people that who've got in touch with me that I've not replied to anybody's email. So if you're sat out there wondering why I've not got back to you yet by email about this, it's because I've not got back to anybody who's asked. And if you're still interested in finding out more, then absolutely go ahead and email me at rocky.outcrop.eth, and I will get back to you when I get back to everybody all at once about with a first look at the light paper for this thing, okay? And get feedback from that, and you'll have a chance to influence the development of the project, of course, etc. And that's all great. Then you'll get a chance to get in on the investment round, you know, the seed round, the round that you never hear about on cryptocurrencies because everybody else has got them, and you could choose if you wanted to have your picture on the website of the cryptocurrency with a saying investor, early investor underneath the name on your picture on the cryptocurrency if you wanted to, that sort of thing. That you never see getting access to anywhere else. That's what people will be getting access to with the cryptocurrency. Now obviously we've got targets in mind. Let me know what you think is a reasonable target. So I'll not say any targets myself, but let me know. Why don't anybody who's watching along at the minute, by the way, let me know in the chat what you think a reasonable target is to generate during a seed phase for any startup type business. You know, I mean, for any startup type business, but especially for one that looks to achieve things in the world of cryptocurrency. Personally, I would say that you're looking at minimum just to get the wheels turning, $500,000, you know. But to get the wheels turning and everything started up, then you know, when you're approaching that $1 million level, then things look pretty good, you know, in terms of the getting through that first year and developing on and really running on the roadmap. Now, a cryptocurrency which gets $1 million and upwards invested in its seed round then needs to actually be committed to running that and to developing it out the way. Through, you know, as well personally, because it's not hundreds of millions of dollars, you know. So that's, you know, that area where it still is obviously a questionable, you know, it's question. You have to, you know, level of commitment for it. Things like where it becomes like maybe potentially feasible but probably not doable, 250,000 in and around about those areas. You're talking about its potential, it could happen. But you're really going to be like struggling to get anywhere with it. Now, seed investment round funding of under 250k, in my opinion, for this type of a business is a non-starter. You know, if I was at an investment round to which I've presented to in the past and I've been a part of in the past as well, and somebody got up in front, or if I got up in front of this crowd and I says to them, I'm looking to raise $75,000 in order to start this thing, I'd be like, that's crazy. You know, they might have come in thinking, oh, it'd be so good to get 50,000. I'll ask for 75,000 and try and bargain them them up to 50, you know, that type of thing. Like that's what a lot of these young and even myself, when I was started into the entrepreneurial world, that's how I kind of thought. Like, but in actual fact, if that was me in that room, I'd say to them, I'm sorry, I'm not going to invest in your project because you're only asking for 75,000 and this project needs at least, you know, and what would it be? And so often it's along the lines of, you're asking for 75,000. Actually, what you need is something closer to 500 to 750,000, you know, just as a starting point, and you just don't know it, you know. So anyway, same thing applies to this here, what we're talking about. Love to see what people think. TradeSpawn has suggested 5 million. K King was thinking 2.5 million to 5 million. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, if you wanted to get a project going which was like, you know, struggling artist in a loft, doing all their coding by candlelight, eating ramen noodles, and hoping to just change the world for the betterment of mankind, then you might be able to do it maybe on 250k, maybe. Maybe, right? I think it's really doubtful. You minimum that you would need to be able to do it would be 500,000 to be able to just get anything that looked like anything. To get a cryptocurrency project where you've got a chance of it launching, you're looking for $1 million in the seed phase, and that's the seed phase. So the actual network itself has got zero value at this point, right? And you have to raise $1 million in seed capital, just, in my opinion, really just to have a chance. Now, to have a good chance or to succeed, then the numbers that we're talking about are, of course, like 5 million, you know, 1.5 million to 1 million to 5 million, says Swisher Baby at the very least. K King, 2.5 million to 5 million, and you know that's it. So like you can imagine then all of us sat in that investor room, and somebody coming in to present their cryptocurrency, and they're saying, here's the investment round, I'm asking for $75,000. It's like, you're not going to do it, you know. When I heard about Elio Trades only raising 250 grand, it's like, that's clearly something else. That's not feasible, unless he's just looking to kind of own the entire thing himself. And I'm not interested in doing a project where all the investment comes from myself anyway. That's not what I'm in this for. It's for the decentralized aspect anyway, you know. So anyway, you get the picture, right? And I'll be talking about my cryptocurrency and looking to try and do that. Now, whether or not I succeed is any man's guess, right? It's any man's guess. You know, how well will I succeed in drumming up support for the cryptocurrency? How well? Now, if you're interested in hearing about it, like I say, send me an email and I'll send you the white paper, and we soon, very soon, and we can discuss this stuff and you know, talk about what the real tokenomics, etc., that you'd like to see on there versus what we're talking about, and improvements, etc., and also then what the project's really worth, you know, and really kind of and scale it out from there and see how we can actually get to these targets ourselves. Obviously, got plans about how to do this sort of thing, but I want to involve the community in this from the very, 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 very get-go. So that's what I'm doing. So you can email me, I'll get back in touch with you, tell you all about it, and then when I go to look to set up the thing, I'm not only going to be asking for your support and your to commit. I mean, obviously it's a cryptocurrency project, so the way that it would work would be that you'd be essentially buying a cryptocurrency, and you'd be remunerated in that token, which of course has only got a speculative value, and essentially at the minute the token's value is zero, obviously. So, you know, minus money, in fact, because it costs money just to do anything in the world. So minus, it's worth less than nothing. So that's currently the situation that we're in, and you need to then get it to the point where the project is viable financially, and that's going to take not only some commitment from whoever wants to be involved in it, from all you who I'm talking to right now, but also probably looking at needing to expand it out and offer it to as many people as possible, just to see, you know, so all of your friends and whatever else that would be interested in this thing. And what would be the proposition essentially of that? Well, like you already know, because these are all crypto fiends, that the way that these things work is that you've got a seed round, and that's there's initial investors. So what we're talking about with those figures, say 5 million, right, is what we're talking about in terms of the thing, and then say that you release the token to the seed investors at reverse auction, blah blah blah, and it worked out that it was going to add up to about $1 per token for $5 million, and 5 million tokens got sold, or whatever. Just keep the maths easy for that sort of thing. Then what you'd be looking at is as a cohort of people out there who have got 5 million of these tokens, but then the network itself is sat there at a point where it needs to go through an IDO or an IEO or an ICO, an initial, you name it, offering, to actually drum up the capital for the network to then even to have value in and of itself at that point. And then what you're left with is a token which represents the future promise. So whenever you've heard about any, and this is the way it all works for all, if you're just new to cryptocurrency and you're watching along at the minute, then this might sound new to you, but everybody else knows this, I suppose. Then what you're left with is a representation of what the future token will be in your wallet, you know, as a seed investor or a later investor. And the difference between seed investors and later investors is generally done, I think, along the lines of when the investment schedule operates. So people who invest at the start have got the opportunity to sell their tokens earlier than anybody else. Now, of course, they're believers in them, and hopefully then by this point that they would have the opportunity, because of the listings being available, etc., to actually sell their tokens. It would be it would have obviously increased in value. It would be the goal. However, you know, these things, it's like, that's just life, you know. There's these things, and we've seen plenty of IEOs that go a number of different ways. The seed protectors, generally speaking, are protected because the seed investment round informs the pricing of the later offerings. So, you know, it would be X% higher or whatever for the later tokens in terms of their in terms of the prices that people would need to pay, and that can be managed a number of different ways in terms of the release schedule, etc. And then the tokens would then as well would then thereafter be distributed to the community through systems such as yield farming, staking, and rewards on the network. And then there would be a certain amount assigned to PR and everything else like that goes along with it. Advisors would get a certain tranche of the thing. So that'd be another thing as well. For instance, people who wanted to get involved in the project at an advisory capacity, which would be great for people who are interested in being involved in blockchain, you know, really hands-on. But, you know, coming from a background where they maybe have different expertise, and so they want to get involved in a project, but from an advisory point of view, as opposed to anything in terms of touching code or anything, then there'd be the opportunity for that. But I think that the only way to really run that, to make it fair, is to say that it would only be for people who'd committed a minimum of $100,000 to the project in terms of it starting off as well. Probably, you know, in terms of just the community and saying to people who want to be advisors, because there would also be a allocated amount for that as well. So then as well that the core team would then be able to go on and hire advisors from this fund that's allocated at the start to help improve the journey of the cryptocurrency, etc. So all those sorts of things need to happen. That's just kind of standard business stuff. So if you were to give it a reward to advisors, then in terms of the seed round and everything else and that, then, you know, that'd be one thing. But in terms of actual advisors, you're like saying you want to go and try and find big heavy hitters, you know, they've got clout, etc., that can bring something to the package, you know, and that's what you're kind of offering them tokens off the back of that to get that exposure. And look over at things like, well, just look at other cryptocurrency white papers, etc., and you can our teams and the fundamentals of other cryptocurrencies, and you'll see more about that. Anyway, well, that's all very, very interesting, all very, very, very interesting stuff. But of course, as well, you know, the thing about it is that there will be staking rewards, and the in terms of the liquidity and the distribution of the tokens, early investors would be able to then actually maybe commit their tokens sooner to be able to take part in things like yield farming and the staking rewards, in which case, you know, it's cheaper, hopefully cheaper, it's what the plan is for the tokens, than when it launches. Naturally, it's gives you access to the yield farming sooner than other people, and it may only be sooner by, like, you know, a week or 5 days or 3 days or whatever we decide. These are the sorts of things I'll be taking feedback on. but it gives you access to that yield farming. So when the yield farming starts off as well, and there's that percentage return, people will need to first buy the tokens to get access to it. So that's where the increase in the seed token part comes from, and then one of the increases in terms of the demand for it is where it comes from, for people having to buy it, and whereas you've already got it, so you don't have that exposure and or requirement. And then you obviously can initiate yield farming before other people have got to the point where they've got the liquidity, so then these rewards then get compounded out, and it gives you that opportunity to like get, you know, to be a real investor in a chain which could go fairly well. Okay, right? And I'm not out there looking, I mean, I've got a clickbait title today, don't I? But I'm not pumping out videos really, you know, looking for a massive crowd of and not doing it the same way LEO Trades did it, you know, and fair play, and that's not a criticism of them or saying there's anything good about what I'm doing right now. What I'm doing is I'm talking to a trusted group of my community. I know without checking that there's not a massive amount of people on here. I can look over on the right. I've had conversations direct one-on-one with the last 2 people that messaged there on the chat that I can see. I've had you know, and that I've had the other chap there is a moderator on the group here, you know, like Philip Dovrak, hi, good to see you, friend. Mexel dude, everybody that's here, you know, Swisher V baby, you've all been here for a while. Randy, even we've all been here for a while, so we all know this is just me talking to people in this sense. So so yeah, so that's kind of that's as much as I'm going to talk about it today. See Kevin asking things like, is it a DeFi token? So all these sorts of questions will be answered when I've gone through a feedback process with the white papering crowd. Okay, and they're the people who've got in touch already and signed the NDA and sent it to me by email. Anybody can do that. It's in the Discord. Just go join the Discord, link below. It's still free, and you'll find out all about that. And then yeah, and that's it. Then of course this is what I'm trying to put together, by the way, is a light paper. So the expectation is going to be that the white paper itself, which would be created before the final round of the initial exchange / DeFi / coin offering, before the end of that, there would be the sort of version 1 of the white paper, but this is all kind of beta version 0.01, you know, and it's light paper stuff, and that's part of the thing, is that with some of the seed capital, be able to go over to institutions nearby that have got mathematicians and in there, and say to these people, we need you to do mathematical proofs and formulas and bring this up to the next level. And you know, from the outside, people think, what's that? That's a couple of $1,000 you spent on getting some mathematical codes added to your thing. It's like, well, yeah, because it increases the value of what we're trying to achieve here, and it doesn't start off, nothing starts off decentralized. So it's just like this community right here of all of us, you know. I've had to think about it from day one, how I want the atmosphere to be here in terms of us all being friends, and look at it now, we're all such great friends. So that's what it'll be like as well with the thing, you know. You start off and you've got a clear vision for the project and a clear goals in mind and directions, and then you go and you surround yourself with the people that you need to surround yourself with to make it happen. Okay, and that's what's happening over here. And right now you're looking at a team of very, very few people involved in this initially. Very few people involved in it initially. It's fantastic, because this is the only time you find out about these things. Then later on, you know, I mean, if the token does great and generates a bunch of interest in it, it'll probably do much better than in terms of eyeballs than this channel does, you know. Like, so it's not about this channel and whatever else, but it'll probably do better. In fact, you never know, it might even make this channel grow a good deal. That's interesting. It's also it's decent to know that I committed to doing this as well outside of the DeFi stuff. That's DeFi stuff is not DeFi. It's not even DeFi. Sorry, the DeFi stuff, the initial DeFi offering. I mean, that's how I imagine it'll work, or else an initial exchange offering. It doesn't have initial. People don't do initial coin offerings anymore. Although the thing could run through an initial coin offering way, and in terms of how the seed stage of it works, I mean that's kind of like an initial coin offering. I mean, that's just essentially deposit into a wallet and then being distributed back tokens in return. So yeah, it's exciting, right? I mean, it's exciting. Okay, so we want to what I know that there's a great cohort of people out here in the community already, right? Fantastic stuff where people are, I already know that there's a group of people out there. I already know, and I've spoken to some of them already directly. That'll be fantastic to have as part of what we're trying to achieve. And the way to get involved in what we're trying to achieve is to become, at this stage, a seed investor. I mean, there isn't any other opportunity at the minute. There isn't an advisory board where that'll be something that gets created as part of the process goes. This isn't a cryptocurrency being developed by a team of 20 different graduates from MIT who all got together to start it up, to have that velocity in terms of their ability to bring things to market quicker, but then also have a huge stake in the project themselves, and are also young and whatever else. No, this is a project which is going to be managed seriously. It's going to involve hiring people, and with long-term commitments towards the goals and success of the project, and it starts off now with a really small team. The only way to get involved is with the seed stuff, and then we'll look to add in people to the core team and stuff like that down the line, and it's going to be a case of people essentially having the first come first served in terms of core team membership goes to the seed round investors, obviously. But yeah, that's not even necessarily something that'll happen. We're just looking to try and get the ball started, right, with this thing. And when it does happen, it'll happen very, very soon. Things will all happen very quickly, from one stage to the next. But it takes a lot of work behind the scenes. And we'll talk about it all later in the week. I'm sure I'll come back with some more updates on it on Wednesday, of course. I'll have to look into my contacts and see who would be beneficial to the project. Says always learning. Fantastic, good to know that there's that. Even Randy, I'll have to go back and listen to this again. Missed the majority of what's going on. Oh, that's cool. It's all in here. It's all there. It's all public. It's available. So minimum for investor is 100k per user USD. Not necessarily, but this is the sort of this is what we're this is going to be a part of the feedback process, right? So that's a suggestion for where we are right now. Do I think that I want to exclude people who can't meet a certain financial commitment somehow? No, definitely not. And especially because I value everybody's contribution, no matter how great or small, for all parts of it, and as well as I will be allowing people to see that. It sounds so like walled off, but you know what I mean, like the language, whatever. I'll be sharing the light paper with people who won't be able to meet that commitment in terms of their capital. Okay, however, realistically, what we're talking about here, as we've discussed, it's like we need to decide ourselves what we're all about. Are we about making this thing a success or not? And that's going to be the whole thing. And it starts with the seed round, then it goes to the investment, the whatever way we choose to distribute the tokens in terms of exchange offerings and methods like yield farming, etc. And then at the end of that process, right, what you're left with is a coin which has been fully distributed in terms of the sale part of it. What gets sold to initial investors at the seed, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 investment rounds, and then it goes on to the distribution which is allocated for providing liquidity out into the world, etc. And what you're looking to happen essentially is for an ecosystem to exist whereby your own impact on the market in terms of being able to recoup some of your initial investment would be negligible. And in order to do that, the way to do it is to sort of schedule out when people are able to actually to actually share some of their seed tokens. Now, the thing is that the people are going to have disproportionately high amounts of tokens, and they're going to want, for the health of the project, to distribute those anyway as well. So that would be encouraged, you know. Hopefully it doesn't result in anybody losing any of their investment overall, but, you know, encourage the people to spread it and whatever. But all those things we'll be talking about down the line. Essentially, really, at the minute, what we're talking about is can we deliver something in the markets which is very good. I think this is in terms of mission statements, because there is a mission statement type of thing in the document that I'll be talking about with people, but I'm not going to say that right here. But in terms of the mission statement, really for this whole endeavor, for us, everybody out there, is that what we want is to do something very well. And I think if we do something very well, then we will achieve reward for that which goes beyond all of our wildest expectations. I don't think that we're going to ever achieve to do anything perfectly. Instead, what we're going to do is a perfect process of continually evolving and always improving everything that we do. That way, of course, while the outcomes of everything that we're doing will be very, very, very good, we will never be hindered by some need for something to be perfect before we're able to make progress. So long as it all operates within what we consider to be a perfect system of looking to be very, very, very good. Okay, so what we're trying to achieve here is not going to be the cryptocurrency which sets all the other cryptocurrencies to shame and running away off and crying on their own. There's no point in trying to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. Instead, we're able to identify opportunities which could be exploited very well for the benefit of everybody who partakes in the network that we create. And with that, we will achieve great, great, great things, far bigger than any of ourselves individually. So that's what we're looking to, and then the success or failure of this thing will come down to a number of factors, one of which is going to be the technology, etc. But also another one of them is going to be the actual commitment that we make to really bring this thing to market. A lot of cryptocurrencies are all in their infancy, and they're only just getting to the point where they're achieving some of the things that they set out to achieve. So as long as we don't put too much pressure on ourselves to achieve things in such a way that results in them happening too quickly, then we will be really, really, really well positioned to have a consistent and good rise in terms of what our offering is, and you know, give ourselves a couple of years and we'll be very, 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 very far down the line. The way that we look at it at the minute is that it would be nice to go from the end of the distribution initial exchange offering or whatever phase, that day, from the end of that to 1 year later being able to launch the main net. However, those are all very much penciled in phrases for just now, because there's a lot more to cryptocurrency than that. Okay, but that's what we're talking about, right? That's what we're talking about, and that's all good, right? Okay, so that's it. That brings me to the end of the episode. Now what we can do is we can flick over to our new screen. I've got a great screen to share with you all, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's such a good screen. Oh, it's such a good screen. Oh, I know I'm building up a lot here, but it is. Okay, I couldn't go without doing the reverse roll call. Thank you so much, Artie Pile, Tradespawn, Zoner, Swisher V Baby, K King, Navanethan. Thanks, Kevin, as well. Navanethan, Artie Pile, good to have you here, Trey, as ever. I'm going to read through your comments again as well after the chat, but you're absolutely right in what you say there. By the way, this is going to require consistent development, improvement, and application of both developments and improvement. Intensive, very intensive. There you go. I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's much more than just setting up a car that a shop for changing tires on cars, for instance. You know, and we're talking about stuff that's obviously, you know, you need to be in it to win it, is what we're. I think we can all agree on that. We need to be in it to win it. So that takes that type of commitment and the type of person that's able to commit like that. Okay. So, you know, and that's what we'll be looking for in terms of people, in terms of like the hires for the team and etc, you know, that type of thing. We want it to be good. We need to believe in the project. Handy enough for me because I do believe in the project, so that comes naturally, but anybody else coming on board needs to do it too. Right, Sin Veritas, oh, without the truth, or Signy Veritas, or whatever. DeFi NCC Polyswarm has been the best thing to happen to me in the past 3 years this week. Fantastic, that's fantastic. I'm very happy for you. Looking up the way, then we have Always Learning. Yes, again, thank you so much for tuning in. We had Philip Dovrak, thank you so much for tuning in today. My friend, good to have you here. Mexel Dude as well, and Randy, it's always great to have you here. And who else did we have? Who else did we have? Zoner, great to have you here, my friend. Zoner, great to have you here. Greg T, as ever. Chocobo Coco, good to have you again as well. Midlands Performance Cars as well, you were a good laugh during the show today. It's good to have you. I'm glad that you enjoyed the show and all that. Tristan KC, thanks so much for tuning in there. Tony Hadley, who's Tony Hadley? I'm not Tony Hadley. I don't know who even Tony Hadley is, but there we have it. Thanks, William Rice. Hey there, I was wondering if you had any thoughts on or know of Telcoin. It's what I'm going in on. Well, we did that today. We did that during the show. You'll be able to see that when I make clips of it, if I get around to doing that after this. So I'm glad I helped out people today. That was a nice freebie for that guy too. Jason M, hi Rocky, could you take a look at Tesla daily chart? Oh god, I didn't. I'm not actually going to do it today, I'm afraid. Just what am I missing sort of idea. Well, this describes the recovery for us, if there's going to be one. The position of the baseline, or the conversion line, sorry, for us at the minute describes the current hassle that we're having. The baseline up there describes the point that we really need to beat in terms of the scene. The price action needs to get up above this here to have a chance. You know, the cloud itself describing the real area of where we could see turnarounds at if we don't recover from here. The lower end of the cloud describing the market structure element for us really just now, and where we don't want to see the prices pushing on past. Now we have seen a wick coming down just here as well, so that's flattering to deceive somewhat, in a sense that it reduces the level at which you might want to break past that, but just be aware of that. But yeah, we're overall, you know, this is a chart which obviously has rolled over at this stage. However, it doesn't look bad considering where it's come from, having outperformed almost everything, including Bitcoin this year. You know, this is okay, offering up a decent rebuy entry. I would be managing my risk though at these levels, and not looking for any sort of exposure to potential sort of market structure rebalancing that might need to happen here. Looking at this and saying that if there was a point at which would be a fantastic entry if we do push past down the cloud, and you're looking to go long on this and don't want to short it in between times, then it could be coming in at around about that $490 zone or so. But $500 is a ways away from where we are just now, of course, and that's all we need to find out about is how this recovery proceeds for us. We can see here in the 4-hour time frame that we're lined up to get a nice angle through there if we want to do that in that trajectory. 1 hour time frame showing us that we've already kind of started that off the way. If a strong end to the trading week, like it could see us then remain above this zone and get a flip over where we start to see that we've made it through on the 4-hour as well. In terms of 24-hour, you know, it's got a way to go unless we get sudden volatility to bring us there, and we don't really have that in place. Overall, this has been negative movement. You could, in terms of short term, continue to say the trend is your friend until the end of that trend. I'm hoping that we see some hidden bullish divergence. This is not different to the rest of the overall markets in total at the minute, as we get recovery here, and we get to push up, and then, you know, eventually see the markets turn around thereafter. It'd be ideal to do this with once beforehand at this stage, but you know, that's asking a lot currently. If we do see downward price action, look to see these contract and us get to a phase where we even actually have you know, such a degree of a lack of strength of trend coming in that there's volatility. That would be the ideal outcome. I don't want to see a strength of trend downward movement happening here, and if we do want to turn around, then I suppose we're still in the zone, you know, where a quick snap turn could do it for us. But we're not there yet. We're just not there yet. If we go well over the next wee while, then we'll get to the point where plenty of continuation / momentum plays will become available for you in your trading. Currently, we're not there yet, okay? And that's fine, because we put us in a position to be almost there at the end of trading throughout the day. So like, we're almost there, but we're not there yet, right? That's what the deal is with that one. Jumping back to Bitcoin and bringing up the old 15-minute chartolas, and then actually saying cheerio. Let's bring up this one here just for the crack. That's a different number, so it'll be a little bit confusing to people. That's good stuff. This is a Bitcoin futures chart, by the way, and we'll go to the 5-second. It's closed, isn't it though? Is it closed or open? Are we? No, we're open at the minute on this one. What time is it right now? 22:30. Actually, are we closed or open on this one right now? Yeah, we're closed on this one right now. Sorry, let me get off this chart. Perfect. Right, there we go. Perfect. Right, I did the reverse roll call, people, so let's see if I missed anybody at the very end here. Always learning. No, cool, got everybody. Thanks everybody for tuning in. So let me just see. It's fine to talk to yourself. Sometimes I answer myself, sometimes my answer is the best advice I get. Nice one. Yeah, excellent. Nice one. Zoner, cheers for tuning in. Going back to my end screen. Catch you later.